Hi, I'm Crystal Gilbert, your host for this presentation, and welcome to the History of Aromatherapy, a timeline of essential oils from ancient to modern day. So this is part one, where we're going to go into all the history and the buildup of the use of essential oils throughout history in aromatherapy. So, what prompted me to create this whole presentation was in my own studies as an aromatherapist now and in health coaching and all the different things I'm doing that has come up. And I saw all these different pieces. And for my own brain, I had to put them together and streamline them. And when I was going through, I found this incredible timeline that I wanted to share with you. So, I haven't personally seen this done in this exact way before, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. So let's move forward. There's a lot in here to unpack. So, first off, what is aromatherapy? So, it's important to understand that it's not a new age fad. You will learn this if you watch the presentation in its entirety. So, it has been used since before recorded history. Aromatherapy is simply the art and science of aromatic therapy. That is, utilizing the therapeutic properties and components of essential oils to bring about a desired effect. So let's go back just a little bit to learn about the history, some of the history of aromatherapy. But first, we're going to look into what actually are essential oils. Essential oils are the highly fragrant substances found within the petals, stems, roots, bark, leaves, and other parts of plants. In citrus, you'll find many of them from the rind, like lemon, lime, grapefruit, orange, etc. And they're typically removed from the plant through steam distillation. There are other ways to distill them and extract the essential oils, but steam distillation is the main one. They have been used throughout history for a variety of reasons. Commonly known in ancient times was aromatics, or spices, herbs, and essential oils could benefit the body and spirit in many different ways. And Dr. David Stewart says, while the beginnings of their use is unclear, no one can say certainly when or where aromatics were first used. Experts believe that they were man's first medicines, predating even the use of herbs. We're going to go into some of the historical findings here. This was fascinating for me. So, records dating back to 4500 BC describe the use of balsamic substances with aromatic properties for religious rituals and medical applications. There have been cave drawings found that depict plants being used as medicine. An ancient papyrus found in the Temple of Edfu contained medicinal formula and perfume recipes that were used by alchemists and high priests in blending aromatic substances for rituals. So let's go over into the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians were commonly using myrrh, frankincense, cinnamon, and juniper for incense, perfume, and medicine. Found on the walls of Egyptian temples are even hieroglyphics that depict the blending of oils and describe hundreds of oil recipes. Imhotep, and pardon my pronunciation of all this, Imhotep, who was the Grand Vizier of King Dossier, let's just move on past that. That was around the time of 2780 to 2720 BC. He was indicated by historical records to be one of the founders of pharaonic medicine and is often given credit for ushering in the use of herbs, oils, and other aromatic plants for medicinal purposes. In 1922, when King Tut's tomb was opened, about 50 alabaster jars were discovered that were designed to hold 350 liters of oils. So, if you want an idea of that, these are 5 milliliter bottles. So 350 liters would go into this quite a few times, huh? So tomb robbers had actually stolen nearly all of the precious oils, yet some of the jars still contained oil traces. The robbers chose to take the oils over a king's ransom in gold, which should depict to you how precious the fragrant oils, the essential oils, were to the ancient civilization. Who picks essential oils over gold? That's astounding, isn't it? So, a sacred room in the Temple of Isis on the island of Philae depicts the cleansing the flesh and blood of evil deities, which is an emotional clearing ritual that required 3 days of cleansing using essential oils. Now, this one is probably one of the most fascinating things to me. In 1817, the Ebers Papyrus was discovered. It is a medical scroll over 870 feet long. Think about how much it takes to write that out back in the old days when they were writing it on the scrolls. And it's considered the most important medicinal papyrus of ancient Egypt, contributing to today's Western medicine and giving a broader knowledge as to how medicine was used in the ancient world. Dating back to 1500 BC, the scroll included over 800 different herbal prescriptions and remedies. Other scrolls described a high success rate in treating 81 different diseases. Many mixtures back in ancient times and in that writing contained myrrh and honey. Myrrh is still recognized to this day scientifically for its ability to help with infections of the skin and throat and to regenerate skin tissue. Because of its effectiveness in preventing bacterial growth, myrrh was also used throughout history for embalming. And now going back to the ancient uses in that scroll, we're going to go through a quick list here. Honey was used to treat sore throats, garlic for digestive problems, aloe vera for burns and skin rashes, mint for bad breath, poppy seeds for headaches, and sesame seeds for asthma. And because of their vast knowledge, physicians of Ionia, Attia, and Crete came to the cities of the Nile to increase their knowledge. So the Nile and the surrounding areas was a hub for all this wealth of information. So around the same time over in China, we have the Yellow Emperor. And the Yellow Emperor wrote a book called The Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine that contains the properties and medical uses for over 300 different types of plants and is still referenced by practitioners today. Moving over to the ancient Greeks and Romans, they used aromatic oils for healing, home care, body care, and beauty. The ancient Romans came up with some revolutionary medical practices. And one of those practices was to purify their temples, not their temples, but their sacred temples, the houses, the buildings. And also their political buildings by diffusing essential oils. That was one of their techniques, was to diffuse and purify the air around them. They also used aromatics in their steam baths to invigorate the flesh and to ward off disease. And now we're moving forward to Hippocrates, that was alive around 460 to 377 BC. And he was known as the Greek physician, the father of medicine. And he made that famous quote, "Let thy food be thy medicine be thy food." He was a great believer in the power of aromatic massage and baths. And being aware of the medicinal benefits of plants, he urged the burning of aromatic plants to combat the plague in Athens. Interesting. So they burned the aromatic plants. Is there a practice we do today sometimes to combat different things or to change the atmosphere? So next we have a Greek physician named Dioscorides, who wrote a 5-volume book all about aromatic therapeutic healing, including over 600 entries of different natural remedies, many of which are still popular today. Now, around 1000 BC, we have the Persian alchemist Avicenna, who developed a method for distilling essential oils. And it's when the art of aromatherapy as we know it today began to develop. Many distillers in the Middle East are still using these ancient practices to produce high quality essential oils. Now, distillation in itself is a true art based on science that has crucial effects on the end result of essential oils and their therapeutic components. Very, very important for it remaining intact. But we're not going to go deep into that for this part. That's a whole different presentation. So, throughout history, for centuries, essential oils and other aromatics were used for religious rituals, the treatment of illness, and other physical and spiritual needs. And it was commonplace and a part of the ancient civilization's lifestyle, akin to using our cell phones and the internet for us today. Throughout ancient writings, we can read that the scented barks, resins, spices, and aromatic vinegars, wines, and beers were used in rituals, temples, astrology, embalming, and medicine for all types of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual benefits. Now we're going to move into the 12th century with a very interesting woman, Hildegard von Bingen, who was an abbess of Germany and a nun who founded her own convent, who used herbs and oils extensively in healing. She grew and distilled lavender for its medicinal properties. She was the author of numerous works, one being Physica, that contains more than 200 chapters on plants and their uses for healing. In the 13th century, the pharmaceutical industry was born, encouraging and encouraging great distillation of essential oils. And then in the 14th century, herbal preparations were used extensively to help fight the Black Death. It is believed that some perfumers may have avoided the plague by their constant contact with the natural aromatics. Now, in the 15th century, we're moving forward to Philippus Aureolus Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim. Try saying that 5 times fast. He was a physician around 1493 to 1541 and an alchemist who established the role of chemistry in medicine. So I like him already. He's also credited with coining the term essence, and his studies radically challenged the nature of alchemy, focusing on using plants as medicines. Now, during the 16th century, essential oils became available to purchase at an apothecary. Very fascinating right there. And then we move forward and to the conclusion of part 1, that by the 17th century, writings about herbal medicine and essential oils became widespread. During this time, perfumery became an art form, with essential oils being an essential part of the perfume making process. So that concludes part 1 of the history of aromatherapy. Part 2, we're going to go from 19th century up to today. So stay tuned for that.